Going live in 15 minutes. Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, February 13th, 9 a.m. Eastern, and the bulls are set to gap up open on SPY and the S&P 500 at a new all-time high. Bulls are making it look easy here. We've got PCLN set to gap up open to an all-time high. Netflix is going to open right at its all-time high, and the bulls are still in full control. We're holding the 20-period 5-minute moving average support all pre-market. 231.93. We'll be watching to see if that level can continue to hold once the bell rings. And the high of pre-market is 232.06. After that, we'll be looking up to 232.50 and psychological levels as we go, as we do not have any previous price history resistance to be going off of. We've got the hourly time frame. 20-period support is 231.40. We haven't even tested the support in the past couple days, and that shows just how strong this breakout has been without even needing that back test. So 2 days in a row without even touching that level, and we'll see if today makes day number 3, as we are seeing lots of further upside and strength. So we do have Yellen talking I have on my calendar tomorrow and Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern, so we will need to be aware of increased volatility around those times. But here on the daily time frame, we're in breakout mode on SPY above the upper Bollinger Band. We'll have to update that upper Bollinger Band at the open. It should still stay as support, or at least start the day as support. And we'll see if we can continue to close above it and keep this strong move going. So the dollar, another rejection. We know our key resistance on the daily time frame is 101.02, and we have a double top at that level, and we hit 101.02 with the gap up open Sunday night, last night, and we rejected yet again. So it's now a triple top at that level, and we have a double low of consolidation. So a very clear channel. 158 we've bounced off of twice, and 101.02 we have rejected from 3 times. So that is the channel to be watching. We're currently heading on our way back up to resistance, and because the dollar bulls are seeing this bounce play out, gold bulls are seeing weakness, and we're seeing a pullback here. So on the hourly time frame for gold, we rejected on the back test to 1235 resistance. It was resistance, then support, then resistance, and now another rejection. So the bears are still in control of gold on the short term until we can turn 1235 into support. And today we're probably most likely either going to see the dollar break 101.02 or gold break 1235. And obviously whichever one occurs will hurt the other. Key gold support is down here at 1221.46, 1221.50, and we are heading back down towards that level. And I've also got an uptrend support line on the daily time frame to be watching, which is going to line up with that support. This uptrend support line isn't really essential, but it is the strong trend that we have been in. And if we do continue to pull back towards that recent low that we've seen, that support will be right there as well. Silver is still stronger than gold. This is very normal, healthy consolidation following the breakout. And you can see how it's a completely different setup looking at the hourly time frame, where we have on gold here a pullback and then a lower high set. Whereas on silver, we had a breakout and now still consolidating after that breakout. So silver still stronger than gold, but it is feeling that pullback with the dollar seeing some strength. We've got copper breaking out. So we've been watching this 270 resistance on copper with about a dozen rejections from it in the past couple months. And we had a big time breakout over the weekend. And now we are seeing a little bit of profit taking from 282 essentially. And I like an entry if the bulls get a shot to get an entry on consolidation. Back testing this previous resistance, now support around 271, 272 would be a nice entry for any bulls looking for copper. So copper stocks likely to see some really nice upside with that clear bull break. And this is the highest price we've seen on copper. Zooming all the way out, we haven't been here since back in June of 2015. So a year and a half since we've seen these prices. Nice bull break on copper. Oil is pulling back after another rejection from $54, so we're keeping an eye out to see where the bulls are going to look to establish support. They're trying to form a higher low compared to $52.88 and then make another shot at $54. But as of right now, the bears are in control, and that daily time frame, time and time again, upper wicks rejecting from $54. That has been the norm, but we need to see the bulls form a higher low compared to $52.88 and look to head back towards that level. Natural gas with a gap down, open below $3 double bottom support. So that's a big time hit for the bulls. The bears are still in full control, and we're going to have to head back up to fill that gap of 330, make that 3035 in order to make any kind of turnaround for the bulls. But again, the bears are in full control right now. We had another lower high set on the daily time frame. Now that we've lost this support, we're looking back down. Next support I'm keeping an eye on for natural gas is 2895. Bears in full control with lower highs and lower lows over the past 2 weeks. And last, we've got Bitcoin. Bitcoin saw a dump last week and recovered, so we now have our low of the dump, 914 support, our high of the bounce, 1020 resistance, and I expect to reach an equilibrium with a tightening range within that range that we've seen so far on that dump and bounce. So a battle right around 1,000 psychological level, bulls trying to turn that back into support. We've got a lot of oversold bouncers still playing out. They had a nice setup last week and a nice strong end of the week. RAD, FEYE, UA, and also GoPro. So we saw that or made that video over the weekend on those plays, and they are all setting up nicely with the overall bullish market strength. So let's get into some 5-minute setups here. RCL. RCL is very strong on the daily time frame, and it's trying to make a bullish break over 96.09, the highest price that we've seen. We saw a breakout, we consolidated, very normal and healthy, and RCL does look like it's ready for continuation. And on the weekly time frame, after 96.09, we're looking up at 97.59. So bulls held control on Friday, holding the 100 period 5-minute moving average support the whole day. Bulls want to still hold that level. And we're looking at 96.09 and then 96.22 as resistance levels. And if we break those, then we are looking up at that level of 97.59. So a really strong break on the daily time frame, normal healthy consolidation, and the bulls look like they're ready for more. So that is a nice bullish chart, and we'll see if the market strength lifts the bulls to higher highs. NCLH, another cruise line here. Not much going on pre-market. It too is a pretty healthy daily trend, not as strong as RCL, but it is holding the middle Bollinger Band daily support. We need to update that level. It's going to be in the mid $47 range. That's going to be a key support to keep holding, and the bulls want to see a break of 48.91, the high of Friday. There was definitely some profit taking going on Friday, so bulls might be headed down to reestablish and reaffirm that support of the middle Bollinger Band. The low that we've seen on this consolidation after a bull breakout on the daily time frame was down at 46.83, and it's a little double low of consolidation, so the bulls must hold that level. And for RCL, we're nowhere near testing the low of its consolidation, 92.65. We're well above that level. So RCL is a bit stronger. NCLH, middle Bollinger Band support test likely. Apple had a weak close on Friday, forming a bearish reversal candlestick, but the market is continuing to push the bulls higher. It's almost like a little safety net where every time we see weakness, market strength wakes the bulls back up. And here we are testing what I consider the all-time high just because of with adjustments for dividends. We have not seen these prices before. So 132.94 is that level, and here we are at that level pre-market. Then we're looking at 133 psychological and 133.50. And again, I'm still watching the higher low pattern on the daily time frame. Ever since earnings, we have now seen 7 higher lows in a row on the daily time frame, and we would have to break 132.05 today in order to break that trend. But look at the last 15 minutes of bull volume coming in here. Apple bulls looking to maintain higher lows on the daily time frame and keep this very strong move going. RAD, so oversold bounce playing out 3 days in a row now, and we're going to see a potential little gap up open. After 570 resistance, I'm looking at 576 and then up to 593. So the bulls still holding on strong. We've got consolidation low at 570 from pre-market, and the 20-period 5-minute moving average support is there as well. Again, after a bounce like this has played out, we're just looking for a short-term bounce, so we need to be cautious, and I would be walking a stop-loss up or a stop-loss level each day that goes by, and we continue to see higher lows and higher highs, just to be sure to lock in that short-term profit and then potentially look to re-enter the position after some consolidation. But as of right now, the bulls are strong, and we'll see how much upside we get today. Just want to be weary of any signals that the bulls are tiring out on this bounce, which I don't see any yet at this point. A little bit of an upper wick Friday of profit taking, but obviously with this gap up open today, we are seeing continued strength on RAD bounce. VRX, liking the weekly chart setting up, getting those exponential moving averages as support. Took a really long time. This is the first time we've had those supports in almost 5 months or so. So looking at the daily time frame, 1524 was the high of yesterday. We're going to test that right out of the gate today. Then I'm looking at 1534 and then 1567, 1542. There's all kinds of levels to be looking at. I'm just looking at the highs of the days back in mid-January as we were dumping slow and steady to the downside. We are now making our way back through those resistance levels. So keeping an eye on those daily resistances for VRX and looking for progress, just higher lows and higher highs to continue. And again, I've liked VRX now for a few days as the bulls are showing me some signs on the weekly chart. And if we can see a break of 1755 on the weekly chart, we're going to get the start of a trend change. And that in itself will be a 15% move to break the lower high pattern on the weekly. So I am liking the potential risk to reward scenario here on VRX. And we will see some clear signs if the bears start to take back over. 1414 is a key support level for me on the daily time frame for the bulls to maintain. XLF financial sector looking really strong here pre-market as well, trying to continue to higher highs with the S&P 500. And we know MS is one of the stronger banks on the daily time frame. 45.15 is resistance. We've rejected from $45 4 of the last 5 days with the inability to close over that level. So that's an ultimate goal for the bulls today, close above 45. Support is 44.34, and 45.15 is the highest price we've seen on this move. So with XLF seeing strength here pre-market, we are looking for MS to try and get a close over $45. And we've got XLF, the sector here, gapping up today. And XLF needs to close above 23.80 to break its little triple top. And MS looking to do the same with its little quadruple top at $45. Amazon also looking to gap up today. Some strength pre-market. 20-period 5-minute moving average is 831.79. Consolidation low of pre-market is 830.57. So we are going to fill the gap today. There was a gap at 828.26. That's going to fill, and we are seeing some nice correlation with the S&P 500 and Amazon ever since earnings settled in. So it was a bearish reaction to earnings. Bulls established support, and we've seen 4 green days in a row, and we're going to start today with a little gap up open. So there's not a ton of resistance from here. I'm looking at 833.50. High of pre-market is 834.18, and then really up to 840. So the bulls have some room to the upside, and as long as the S&P 500 stays strong, Amazon bulls looking like they're in a nice position to stay strong as well. So the miners, we're seeing gold pull back. 20-period 5-minute moving average resistance on JNUG 1155. And let's see the gold hourly chart, not quite oversold, but we have seen 3 big red hours in a row. Wouldn't be surprised to see a little short-term bounce attempt to start the morning right when the bell rings here for gold, which should see a little bit of upside in JNUG. But we need to be cautious because if the dollar does break that 101.02 level that we are currently 7 cents below, that is going to have us looking for gold to consolidate a bit longer. So resistance is 1210, the high of Friday. We're nowhere near that level. We've got all 5-minute moving average resistances coming first. And in terms of hourly supports, we are losing the 100 period and the 20 period on JNUG hourly. So a lower high, lower low pattern here pre-market, and the bears in control of JNUG, and dust is the opposite. Higher lows and higher highs trying to maintain the 20 period 5-minute moving average support of 25.86. And for dust bulls to see progress on the daily time frame, they're going to need to see a break of 27.30, the high of Friday. We had a gap up open on Friday, and then the bears controlled the day on dust. So trying to make their way back to that level, and we are turning the 100 period and the 20 period on the hourly into support. So you can see where the momentum is here pre-market. Again, I do expect a little bit of a gold bounce attempt on the hourly, perhaps first thing, but momentum right now is favoring the bear miners. It's favoring the dollar bulls and the gold bears. Checking in on M. 20 period 5-minute moving average support is 32.80. We've been rejecting from the daily upper Bollinger Band 4 days in a row. That level is going to be up around 32.85 or so. We need to update that at the open. If we can close above that level today, we will be looking good to get back into breakout mode. This is an oversold bounce on M playing out. We've got our higher low established at 30.81. Now the bulls need to head back to the high we saw on the bounce of 34.37, and they're going to see a gap up open today and looking for continuation. So it's all about whether or not the bulls can close over the upper Bollinger Band daily resistance and head back towards 34.37 resistance. And the bulls are certainly off to a good start today. Key support is consolidation low of pre-market, 32.52. Bulls want to maintain that level and see a break of the high of pre-market, $33 right out of the gate to give the bulls some confidence. Baba and Baidu, we've been watching the bulls last week start to take over. Baidu a bit more enticing, but Baba bulls are there as well. We have a clear resistance on BABA at 104.57 and 104.18. And we closed fairly close to the low of the day on Friday, 102.31. So we're not too far above that support. If we break 102.31, I'm looking down at 101.16. And we still have a channel to be watching on BABA with that resistance in the 104s and the bulls trying to continue to hold higher lows after building a base at $100 support. So a bit of weakness on BABA here first thing. And looks like after a bearish day on Friday, bulls still have not recovered here pre-market, although Baidu is looking very strong. So I do like Baidu better in the short term. We've got a breakout on the daily time frame, strong close on Friday, and we are looking for a gap up open today. High of Friday was 184.16, so gap up looking likely. And the next resistance on the weekly time frame for Baidu, now that we have broken above the 100-week moving average resistance we were watching, 185.20 is the next resistance level I'm watching, and the weekly upper Bollinger Band resistance is going to be a factor as well. We have to update that level this week because the price is approaching that weekly upper Bollinger Band as this long-term 2-year chart continues to see higher lows and lower highs and a constricting pattern. So WEED saw a strong move into the close Friday, and I personally obviously would not be buying a gap up. As we know, gap ups have been for selling in this sector time and time again. So I would need to see a pullback to fill the gap at 1243 and then progress of this higher low, higher high pattern. So at the end of Friday, we had support at 1228, then we formed a higher low at 1232, and we need to see that higher low pattern continue. We do have earnings tomorrow, so we need to be weary of profit taking heading into earnings. We've seen a breakout now for the past 6 days in a row without a ton of profit taking. The upper Bollinger Band on the daily has stayed support that entire time. So personally, I think day trading opportunities might be limited in WEED. I think after a initial push to the upside on a gap up open, we could see some profit taking begin. But if that were not to be the case, again, a gap fill back down to 1243, and for the bulls to maintain these higher lows, including the end of Friday, to continue to see strength. AMD earnings on Wednesday. Trying to keep 1362 and 1364 as supports on the 5-minute time frame and seeing a clear lower high pattern all pre-market, looking at the first resistance of 1377. So the low on Friday was 1325. We're well above that level, and the high was 1386. So we are closer to the high of Friday resistance than we are to support. So the bulls are still maintaining strong. The bulls want 1325 to be the higher low on the daily time frame and to see continuation back up to maintain this very strong move that we've been watching here for 2 weeks now on AMD. So the bulls are still in control. A break of 1325 on the daily time frame would be a bit of a red flag for the short-term bulls, but they're holding on pretty well here pre-market. And on the hourly, the 20-period hourly support is here as well. That's at 1364, lining up with these 5-minute moving average supports. So if we lose those first thing, 1325 would be the next level. NVDA double top at the all-time high and a pretty significant pullback day on Friday. And here we are right down at those lows with some weakness pre-market. So that low Friday was 112.60. If that breaks, I'm looking at the daily middle Bollinger Band in the mid-110s as the next support level that will likely be tested. So clearly the bears are still here with some decent volume pre-market. Resistance 113.73, and then that high of pre-market 114.36. And if we do see a break of the low of Friday, 112.60, we know some further downside is likely here to start this week. ACB. So ACB on the daily time frame saw some profit taking Friday after a 3-gap up bearish reversal pattern. That 3-gap up pattern indicates that the bulls are exhausted to the upside. So 251 was support. If that breaks, I'm looking at the daily middle Bollinger Band at 246. And in terms of resistance, we can see on Friday, 255 acted as resistance, and then 260 and 261. So normal healthy consolidation on decreasing bear volume after 3 gap ups in a row, and we could be in for a bit more consolidation today, especially if we break that low of Friday, 251. But at this point, the bulls are liking the volume, the way it's played out, and obviously that very strong move last week. Normal to see some consolidation after 3 gap ups in a row. Netflix on the verge of all-time highs here pre-market. And looks like we're going to see a gap up open to all-time highs, potentially with PCLN and SPY. So that level was 145.30. Next resistance, 146 psychological. Bulls in full control, higher lows multiple days in a row. And the low of Friday was 143.97. We are well above that level. 20 period 5-minute support is 145.18. So Bulls strong on Netflix, looking for continuation with market strength at the Bulls' backs. FEYE, oversold bounce playing out now. Once we got over 11.15, nice big gap up is coming for continuation. Want to be cautious of profit taking on the gap up, and the 20 period 5-minute moving average will be a nice gauge for that. It's currently at 11.59 and ascending, and we're in the middle of the gap now, filling the gap back to the upside. So there's not much resistance to be watching. We're looking at $12 psychological, but this is a really strong start to the day for FEYE. And same thing as RAD, I personally would likely be walking a stop loss up. If you want to give this a longer term play out, you would put your stop loss at break even and let it ride a little bit. And worst case scenario, nothing happens. But if you want to lock in that profit, I would be walking stop losses up on these oversold bounce plays. And that 20 period 5-minute, we'll see what level that is once we see the open. It's going to be in the low 1160s with $12 resistance. Nice continuation for the Bulls. Going to stick with 2 tickers per person until I get through all of them. WDAY. So definitely saw some profit taking on WDAY at the end of Friday. It looks like normal healthy consolidation on the daily time frame. There was a gap at 85.44, and we did fill that on Friday. So if we were to see a break of the low of Friday, 85.10, the middle Bollinger Band on the daily would be next, and that's going to be in the upper $83 range. In terms of resistance, the high of this bounce from Friday, 86.08, that's going to be a key resistance level that the Bulls need to break to continue resuming the uptrend that we have been in pretty much all of 2017. An oversold bounce has been playing out. The Bulls need to establish a new base of support. They're hoping it's 85.10, and they need to see a break of 86.08 and then head up to 86.32, the high of Friday resistance. QRVO. Support QRVO at the end of Friday was 66.03, and then looking down at 65.93. Getting a little bit toppy with a potential bearish reversal, Dragonfly Doji at the top of the uptrend on Friday. If the Bulls can see a break of 66.42 today and continuation to the upside, that will negate the bearish reversal candlestick. But if we can't break 66.42 and we head back down towards the low of 65.58, we do need to be cautious of what would start as normal healthy consolidation after a significant move to the upside favoring the Bulls. So QRVO Bulls definitely in control on the daily time frame, but we are seeing a couple little bearish reversal candlesticks on the daily, which could indicate consolidation is in the near-term future. The weekly time frame, really strong break this past couple weeks over 64.80, and now heading up. Next resistance I'm looking at on the weekly would really be up at 68.61. So there is still some nice upside potential on this weekly time frame. The question is just whether or not the daily time frame needs to consolidate a little bit, and we'll see how we react to that bearish reversal Dragonfly Doji from Friday. eBay, this one trade pre-market 33.63, not a whole lot going on. Daily time frame, nice strong continuation on Friday, bull break of an inside candlestick and continuation to higher highs. We did reject from the daily upper Bollinger Band resistance. 33.81 is that level. It's going to be right around the low $34 range to start today. And the high we saw was 33.84. So if the Bulls can break 33.84 today, they will continue with higher highs on the daily time frame. The weekly chart broke out above the upper Bollinger Band, and the daily chart rejected from the upper Bollinger Band. So we need to keep an eye on that daily chart resistance, and we need to update that weekly upper Bollinger Band as well, because we're likely going to start this week just below that level, and we'll see if the Bulls can maintain this breakout. But eBay Bulls certainly in full control. Looks like we are at all-time highs. Ideal scenario when you got the market and blue sky breakout and an individual name there as well. X 20 period 5-minute moving average support is 38.57, and the high of Friday was 38.21. So a gap up open is coming. High of pre-market was up at 38.86, and then we're looking at the highest price we've seen on this bull move up at 39.08. So X is a nice bull flag on the weekly time frame. big break to head back to the upside last week, and now we're seeing continuation. And a break of 39.08 will confirm that bull flag and confirm higher highs are coming. So that is the goal today. Ideally, if we could break 39.08, that would be a very strong day for X bulls. And that's a really good looking weekly chart after 2 months of healthy consolidation. Bulls showing up in a big way last week and continuing strong. We have the upper Bollinger Band daily as support. Need to update that level as the open. And the bulls looking to maintain breakout mode. Still seeing strength. CLF. 20-period 5-minute support here as well, 1148. Bulls want to hold that level as it has held all pre-market. And we look on the daily time frame. Consolidation after a breakout, the upper Bollinger Band daily support is going to be a key level, but we're going to start well above that level as we're seeing a gap up open. 1170 is the highest price we saw last week, so that is the resistance level to be watching. High of pre-market is 1160, so 2 resistance levels right there. Still in breakout mode above the upper Bollinger Band, and the bulls maintaining a nice higher low, higher high pattern pre-market and seeing some strength. And a red flag pre-market, or I should say right after the open, would be if we break 1145 and then head down to 1129. That would break the higher low pattern on the 5-minute time frame. FCX, a little bit of weakness. FCX has been weaker than X. The weekly chart doesn't look anywhere near as strong, and we had a big gap up in profit-taking day on Friday, and we're looking at the gap to fill down at 15. I was actually thinking of AKS when I was comparing it to X. So FCX is its own animal here. We've got a gap on the daily time frame of 1555. We're well above that level. We are seeing a nice higher open compared to where we closed on Friday, but resistance is up at 1656. Higher pre-market is 1616. So the bulls need to turn things around after all that profit taking on Friday and try and establish themselves heading back up to the mid $16 range. FCX, checking the weekly time frame real quick. Bulls definitely in control of the weekly time frame. Healthy consolidation the past 2 weeks and just waiting for the bulls to show back up and reassert that they're going to head to higher highs, and they need to do that this week. Ideally today, showing a nice strong daily candlestick after that gap up week candlestick from Friday. Facebook, higher lows and higher highs on the 5-minute. Bulls still in control. 134.51. 20-period moving average support. A little bit of an upper wick of profit taking from the highs of Friday, 134.94. We're going to test those resistance levels right out of the gate, and the all-time high is there at 135.49. So I'm watching the higher low pattern, which has been intact now 4 days in a row on Facebook. If we break 133.68, that will break the higher low pattern, but we're obviously much closer to breaking resistance than we are to support. We'll be keeping an eye on XLK, the technology sector, as well as QQQ, which has been very, very strong all last week. And the Facebook bulls, nice uptrend here pre-market. If we were to break 134.41, that would be a red flag breaking the higher low pattern. So AKS, weaker than X. There's the comparison I'm looking for. But it's seeing a nice, strong, healthy pre-market. Looking at support of 847. All 5-minute moving averages are support. And resistance, 879 from the high of Friday. We had a gap up open there with some profit taking as well. If the bulls can break 879, that will be nice continuation to the upside. Just need to be cautious because X on the weekly time frame is very clearly a bull flag, whereas AKS is potentially a bear flag. Need to see strong continuation and a break of last week's high of 879 to negate the possibility of it being a bear flag. We are holding the middle Bollinger Band weekly support 2 weeks in a row, seeing a nice base being built at that level, but we need follow through and we need to get over the weekly exponential resistance levels to negate the potential bear flag that we do see there. SDRL. Oversold bounce playing out. Resistance is $2, a break of $2, and we're looking up at 210 and a break of 210, and we start filling the gap. So a lot of strength if we can break 210 today. Bulls want to see more than 33 million shares traded. I'm looking at support of 196 and then down to 189. So bulls need to break that $2 psychological resistance, the high of Friday. The sooner the better to give that confidence to the bulls. GE, let's actually get back in on SPY here for the open, and then I'll check out GENC. So SPY bulls in full control, blue sky breakout, higher lows and higher highs, all pre-market, all moving averages, and bulls looking good. We'll see if we can maintain this trend, which is certainly showing a lot of strength. So GENC, daily time frame, bulls need to see a break of 1436 and 1437. A little double top the past 2 days, but we did close strong on Friday. And if we break those levels, these are the highest prices we have ever seen. So blue sky breakout in full effect. And after 1436, we'd be looking at psychological levels, 1440, 1450, and bulls maintaining a nice higher low pattern, although volume is dwindling a little bit. Bulls want to see an uptick in volume and a break of the high of Friday. So here is the start of the day with lots of green on the screen. We've got the biotech sector trying to break the high of Friday. It has yet to do so, but XLF in the financial sector has already broken the high of Friday, so nice continuation there. RAD bulls continuing on the bounce, looking good. And we've got Netflix with a new all-time high, PCLN with a new all-time high, and SPY with a new all-time high. Baidu bulls in full control, Apple hitting higher highs. So obviously the bulls are starting very strong today, and we'll see if we can maintain these higher lows and higher highs. NVDA bulls are trying to defend the low of Friday to keep a base of support, and that level was 112.60, and we just hit 112.66, maintaining that low by 6 cents. So a bit of a double bottom on NVDA. Now we'll see if the bulls can get any momentum on the bounce from that level. They're going to have to get above 113.71 to turn some 5-minute moving averages into support. But we're not done testing that support level as we head back down. See if we get a triple bottom here at 112.60. TEVA. Bulls trying to turn the 20-period 5-minute moving average into support at 33.44. Resistance is the high of pre-market of 34.15. So a nice strong start right out of the gate, getting that level back as support as it was resistance for the last hour. Bulls want to close over the daily middle Bollinger Band of 33.52, and they fill the gap back to the upside of 34.01 if we can get to that level. So 34.01 is a resistance to be watching, and the high of pre-market 34.15 after that. Bulls in control as long as that 20-period 5-minute moving average holds. OCUL, also a very strong start. Support is 849 and 861, breaking the high of Friday above the upper Bollinger Band on the daily, and the next resistance is up at 930. Lots of momentum for OCL bulls. They want to see more than 4.3 million shares traded to show lots of strength and continuation, and the upper Bollinger Band on the daily is 869, trying to close above that level to get back into breakout mode. So NVDA did break the low of Friday. The bears are still asserting themselves in control. Look at Tesla bulls go. Tesla hitting the highest price we have seen on this move. The weekly chart continues to be an absolute beast over the past 3 months, and the next resistance we're looking at after 271.57 has now been broken. I'm looking at 275 psychological and 280 psychological for Tesla bulls that are still showing tons of strength. SHAK. Daily chart, break of Friday's high already. Continuation on the breakout above the upper Bollinger Band. And the next resistance, there's not a lot of resistance in these levels. And if we have all hourly moving averages as support, which we do, bulls are in full control. So really, I'd be looking at psychological 37 resistance from here, and then up to 38.30 is the next price action resistance. So breakout mode for the bulls, and they want to see increase in bull volume. We need to see more than 520,000 shares today compared to Friday for the bulls to see some nice continuation. Keeping an eye on XOM this week. I like the weekly base of support being built. We now need follow through to the upside on the daily and weekly time frame. So on the daily time frame, high of Friday, 82.77. We did break it right out of the gate, but we are near the low of the day. Bulls need to hold 82.57 and try and progress this bounce on the daily time frame and break the lower high pattern. I'm watching the daily middle Bollinger Band of 83.59 resistance. I do like that positioning on the weekly time frame, but we must see a green week close above the 200-week resistance of 83.22 by the end of this week to see a nice confirmation of that bullish reversal candlestick. Definitely worth keeping an eye on XOM. JJC, 32.14 is 5-minute moving average support. Gap up open today. Upper Bollinger Band daily support is 32.14, and a little bit of liquidity lack of liquidity, I should say, at the moment. Finding the next weekly resistance as the bulls are very strong on the daily. 200-week moving average is 32.49 resistance to be watching. The biotech bulls could not break the high of Friday at this point. We're still consolidating 67.38. We formed a lower high by 17 cents. We've got the Apple bulls still extremely strong. And we've got Netflix not seeing too much upside after that new all-time high. Still holding up near the high of the day. Tesla bulls are one of the lead bulls, up almost 2% today with some big-time follow-through. And the financial sector also at the highs, showing lots of strength as well. WEED is breaking very strong. After that 1247 resistance, there is very slim resistance here. We're looking at 13 psychological. So we didn't fill the gap up open on the open. We consolidated briefly, and then the bulls just ran away with it. So we need to be cautious of profit taking heading into earnings after this move that we've seen over the past 7 days. We have now seen a move of almost 25% in 7 days. So there is a lack of resistance, making it easy for the bulls to continue to the upside. But I would be extremely surprised if we saw a bullish reaction to the financials. I do not believe there is an ETF that tracks the travel sector. I'll have to check into it later. GS, very strong start to the day with the financial sector. Trying to break out on the daily time frame. It needs to close above 245.49, the upper Bollinger Band on the daily. 247.77 is the highest price we've seen. That's the next resistance that the bulls want to break. SPY bulls back to the high of the day, remaining in control. Keeping an eye on GWPH bulls. GWPH has been a really nice reaction from its earnings, and resistance is 129.48. Liking the healthy consolidation on the daily time frame for GWPH. The WEED $13 resistance support is $12.55. We haven't consolidated since the open, so we'll see after we hit the high and the bulls tire a little bit. We'll consolidate and form a new support level to be watching that will be above the high of the day initially. But as of right now, the bulls are still pushing higher as we head towards that $13 level. EMC has seen a little bit of weakness, and we're heading down to 355, must hold support. 356 was the low of Friday, and if we break those levels, 350 is the absolute must hold, or we're seeing another leg to the downside. So the bears are in control right now on the daily, and the bulls are just trying to defend these support levels. We'll see if they are able to do so. BRX was unable to break the high of Friday at this point, so we're consolidating a bit, a lower high by 4 cents, and we're pulling back down. I'm looking at support down at $15 and $14.81, and we'll see if it's going to be normal, healthy consolidation. Bears or the bulls would want to see decreasing volume if we are unable to break the high of the day, and we do pull back into the upper $14 range. REGN. Nice SPY bull break, continuation and higher highs. REGN, key resistance is the 50-day moving average of 366.61. It rejected the high of last week, and we're right there right now. High of last week, 366.95, so we have broken that level. And the next resistance on the daily is 373.48. Trying to break the lower high pattern. We now have a higher low and a higher high over the past 2 weeks on REGN. On the weekly time frame, trying to see this bounce play out. And weekly resistance is 371.59. So the bulls are in control of the short term. Must close over that middle Bollinger Band on the daily, or the 50-day moving average on the daily, I should say. We've rejected the last 2 attempts, 366.61. GOOGL, slow and steady continuation ever since the earnings reaction. High of Friday has been broken. Not a ton of resistance at these levels. We're still looking for a gap fill at 841.90. Have not filled that gap yet, but slow and steady higher lows and higher highs on the daily time frame the last 5 days. Nothing that screams bullish, but like I said, slow and steady. Bulls can't really complain about the price action we've been seeing. So that gap fill is the next target. Support is the low of the day, and then all 5-minute moving averages. We've got 835 support, and then down at 832.67. Amazon bulls seeing some nice continuation. There's the Netflix bulls waking up after that new all-time high, heading towards 146 psychological resistance. Tesla bulls still not really slowing down. 275 psychological resistance. XLF and the banks very strong still at the high of the day. HAIN dumping on the 5-minute time frame. Exponential moving average is resistance. No sign of an oversold bounce until they are support at a bare minimum, or until at least we see a bullish reversal candlestick. Checking weekly support on this dump and looking down, bulls have been buying the dip back in January in the low $33 range. So here we are in the low 33s, and the lowest price we saw was $33.10. We did break that level, but the bulls have been buying the dip from this area. We'll see if they're able to see this oversold bounce play out after this big gap down. Testing exponential resistance now. NVDA trying to turn some 20-period and 100-period moving averages into support. And we broke the low of Friday by 10 cents, but the bulls buying that dip currently. So trying to turn around the trend, I'm looking at resistance of 114.36, the high of pre-market. And the bulls need to form a bullish reversal candlestick on the daily time frame today, which if we were to close here or better, it is a little bullish reversal candlestick, trying to build a base of support now in the mid-112s. And we are seeing some decent follow-through at the high of the day, so it's all about 114.36 resistance from here. Yelp was very weak after earnings and closed near the low of the day last week, trying to get over the 100-period 5-minute resistance of 36.04. Low of Friday was 35.70, and we held that we lost it by a penny, but it is a double low right now. Bulls need to get over this 100-period 5-minute. You can see the 5-minute candlestick's range is shrinking, so we're going to see a clear break in the next 10 minutes. And bulls need to get over this 100-period and try and form a bullish reversal candlestick now that we do have a double bottom in place, potential bottom fishing play with that support level. Amazon, bulls buying the dip on these pullbacks, long lower wicks on the 5-minute candlesticks, and progressing up towards 835 and 840 resistances. Not much price history in this range for resistance. So Netflix strong 20-period 5-minute support is 145.28. Blue sky breakout. Upper Bollinger Band daily resistance is in the low 147s, not a factor at this point, but that 146 psychological resistance, without any previous price history to be going off of, that is the next resistance we're watching. So if the bulls can control or stay in control and keep this 20-period 5-minute moving average support, we should see some nice continuation, but here we come down to test this level, 145.28, as the S&P 500 bulls are still extremely strong. New higher highs continuing to push to the upside, with the XLF sector, financial sector, right there with the bulls. FEYE saw profit taking on that gap up open pretty much right out of the gate, trying to recover that 20-period 5-minute moving average of 1162. And our new resistance is 1179. So NVDA forming a lower high compared to the high of pre-market. You need to form a higher low compared to the low of the day. Bears still have control until the bulls can break 114.36, but again, we are seeing the bulls attempt to defend the mid-112s. Keeping an eye on volume as we start the day. We're going to see this range shrink on NVDA with a clear break sometime in the next 15-20 minutes, I would guess. RTI. We had a bull break of a tight pattern on the daily time frame for RTI, and we got up to 62 cents. And we did break that level to start today, so that's a nice strong start because 62 was a multiple top. So 62 cents is now support. And the bulls, next resistance, I believe we are in blue sky breakout. So next resistance, 65 cents, 70 cents, psychological levels with bulls seeing continuation to the upside on this bull break of that pattern. Nice strong start to the day. We'll see if the bulls can continue to build off that momentum. Facebook's still seeing a bit of weakness in the sense that we're not able to push up towards that all-time high Upper wick of profit taking on Friday, unable to break the high of Friday so far today. 133.68 is support to maintain the higher low pattern, but a little bit of weakness on Facebook as it's close to going red here, even though the market is extremely strong. So Apple, it's just all psychological levels from here. Unless you want to use the previous price history from before the dividend splits, personally, I'm not going to use those levels. 134 is resistance. The bulls are still in full control, maintaining higher lows on the daily time frame, negating the bearish reversal candlestick on Friday. Bulls still in full control, seeing lots of strength with the market strength as well. Support on the 5-minute time frame, exponential moving averages in the mid 133s, and they are adjusting rapidly to the price. SQ bulls are looking great. This is exactly the play that the bulls were looking for. Friday, we back tested and held the middle Bollinger Band, and now we're seeing continuation. The next major resistance level is 15 psychological. We have a double top from January at that level, and the upper Bollinger Band daily resistance is 1490. But I'm liking the daily and weekly setup for SQ, and the bulls are continuing to see that bounce play out. GoPro oversold bounce continuing as well. Nice follow through from the close at the high of the day on Friday. $9 is the goal for the bulls to close above to turn that psychological level into support. And in terms of resistance, I'm looking up at 912 from here. High of the day is 908. So 908 and 912, all 5-minute moving averages support. GoPro bulls still in control. X is in full-on breakout mode. Look at that hold of the 20-period 5-minute support right out of the gate and big-time follow-through to the upside in response to that. We are overbought on the 5-minute time frame, but we broke that high of 39.08. Very strong bull break, and that is now confirmation of the bull flag on the weekly time frame and big-time follow-through. So we need to zoom out multiple years to find the next resistance on the weekly time frame, and I'm looking up at 41.10. So $40 psychological, the next level. Overbought on the 5-minute time frame, but this is a very bullish break of 39.08, the high that we have seen in the past couple years. PCLN seeing a little bit of a pullback from that all-time high now at the low of the day. So we are looking at the upper Bollinger Band daily support of 1643. Very key support for the bulls to maintain breakout mode on the daily. Hourly support is down at 1627, so 1643, next key support test on PCLN. So SPY extremely strong. VRX heading back, new high of the day, trying to break 1524, the high of Friday. And look at Tesla go, 2.5% now. Tesla has been a bull on steroids since the bell rang. That is an extremely strong daily and weekly chart with very little slowdown. Bulls back over the upper Bollinger Band on the daily if we can close above 273 today. So key support test on PCLN, upper Bollinger Band daily. Close below that level, and we're looking for another potential $15 to the downside to the next support. So Apple is a perfect example where we did get clear signs of weakness on Friday, a close near the low of the day. The only thing that we didn't get was a break of the higher low pattern. It looked likely that we would see that today just because we closed at the low of the day. But then we wake up and see SPY gapping up to new all-time highs. So the overall market strength and trend negating bearish reversal candlesticks and keeping the bulls in control. Why it's always ideal to have the market in our favor, wind at our back, so to speak. Obviously, there's scenarios where that's not necessary, but always the most comfortable trading with the direction of the market. So our AD is seeing some consolidation after that very strong start this morning. Need to be cautious of a pullback there as well. The bulls are looking to establish a higher low. So 575 is resistance. And 553 is daily support on RAD. And if the bulls can't see a close today back in the 570s, I would expect to see a little bit of consolidation to form that higher low after seeing 4 days of this bounce play out. NVDA still not seeing much strength. We're watching this range on the 5-minute tighten. 112.90 and 112.50 support. WEED high of the day is 12.99, just below that psychological resistance level. Tesla back at the high of the day. VRX broke the high of Friday. Nice continuation for the bulls there. So a little bit of healthy consolidation currently in SPY after such a strong start. 20-period 5-minute support is 232.08 that the bulls want to maintain. Keeping an eye on CLVS and the daily middle Bollinger Band of support, which is currently 61.34. Bulls need to maintain that level to be their strongest. So banks still strong. Financial sector at their highs. MS, 5-minute looks like some normal, healthy consolidation. After a strong push to the high of the day first thing, we've got continuation on the daily time frame. Higher lows and higher highs. MS is one of the strongest banks and certainly responding to the sector's strength. We are at all-time highs, I believe. I need to zoom back to 2008, double check, and we're actually not. So that's why we need to double check. So resistance, 45.15, 45.18. We're above those levels. So now looking at, those are some key levels. If we close above 45.18 on the weekly time frame, looking up at 45.66 as the next resistance. But 5-minute chart still strong. And the daily chart certainly still strong, hitting those higher highs. Goal for the bulls is to close above $45 today, which we have been unable to do with 4 rejections last week. GS 5-minute also looks like normal healthy consolidation, potential bull flag. Looking at support of 246.08 and the high of the day resistance of 247.41. We're going to have to see the 5-minute exponential moving average supports lost in order for it not to be a bull flag. But as of right now for GS and MS, this is normal healthy consolidation. POT, nice strong start. 20-period 5-minute support is $19.15. Close over $19 on Friday was very bullish for POT, and now we're seeing that follow through. So $19.51, the next resistance. Nice eye there, Sam, as it is going well. And all shorter-term moving averages support. $19.51, next resistance. Nice follow through for the Google Bulls now. Up to 840 psychological resistance. Not a ton of price action until we fill that gap. 841.90. Low of the day test for NVDA. Again, if we break these mid 112s, looking down at the daily middle Bollinger Band, currently 110.78. So bulls are definitely defending that area, but they are not seeing much follow through to the upside, and we could see a break here and a new low of the day and another leg to the downside shortly. Checking in on gold. Gold is bottom fishing play. 1221.46 is the lowest price we've seen, and we just hit 1221.81. Lowest price on this consolidation from the highs. Hourly RSI is right at 30 on gold. This would be a level 2 bounce as the dollar is right at 101.02 resistance. Very clear resistance on the dollar being tested right now. So a stop would be very clear if the dollar breaks 101.02 and gold heads to lower lows. We would stop out of bullish positions in gold and gold minor bulls. Key support and resistance test. UBNT is dumping. 5-minute RSI is 17. Checking the weekly chart for support. And looking down at 48.25. So 50 psychological, 48.25. No sign of the bulls at this point. Exponential 5-minute moving averages driving the price to the downside. Worth keeping an eye on for an oversold bounce, but at this point, nothing playing out yet. ACB, bulls are at the high of the day. So after a little bit of consolidation on Friday, not really seeing much follow through to the downside today. Wouldn't be surprised to see today trade within the range of Friday, 251 and 261. Break of 261 and 262. The past 2 days would show a lot of strength, but again, I would not be surprised to see a tight range today within the range of Friday. APH, very strong follow through. 555, highest price we have seen on this move, so nice bull break. Looking at 550, make that 560 and 565 as the next resistances, some highs from mid-January. Very strong start for the APH bulls. And a close above 550 today will turn that level into support after being unable to close above 550 the past 2 weeks, really. So nice follow through for the APH bulls so far today. If PCLN loses the upper Bollinger Band daily support, I'm looking at 1638 and 1627. The bulls are battling to hold that level right now. Let's update that with the current price. 1642.55. JNUG trying to bounce. Resistance is the high of the day, 1169. And the bulls would need to see the dollar reject from 101.02 and would need to see gold bounce from 1221.46. Very key levels being tested right now on gold and the dollar. So SPY bulls still in control, checking in on those banks. Still consolidating healthy. Not a ton of strength, though. We'll see about these exponential supports that let us know when it is no longer the potential of a bull flag or a bear flag. Biotech sector, really nice follow through. We did get that break of the high of Friday. 67.38 has broken. Nice continuation for the bulls. Let's get some Tesla RSI levels. Tesla getting a little toppy. We've got 1277.65 as a bit of a double top with some upper wicks on the 5-minute time frame. Still exponential moving average support. Could see some short-term consolidation on Tesla with that little double top. Bear break for NVDA, so upper 110 middle Bollinger Band daily support. See if Twitter got that gap down open today. And it did not. So Twitter has a double bottom of 1550. It is a bottom fishing play. Bullish reversal candlestick trying to form today. 1565 and 1550 supports. Hourly resistance on Twitter trying to turn 1568, the 20-period hourly, into support. Nice double low of support at this point. Checking in on the airline sector. LUV, extremely strong continuation. AAL looking good on that continuation. JETS for the ETF of the sector, gap up open and up near the high of the day. So those airliners are really liking the bull strength today. Dollar broke 101.02. So that key resistance has broken to favor the dollar. Gold has not broken support yet, but we're right there. This is the highest price that the dollar has seen since back on January 20th, 3 weeks. And the daily time frame trying to break the lower high pattern. So cautious in bull miners. We'll see if gold is able to maintain its support still. I did check into JENC. I got my chart right here. So looking at the high of Friday, that was up at 1436. And looks like we did break that high today, 1437. Obviously not a convincing break, but it's blue sky breakout, and the bulls are in full control. So I don't have live data, but the bulls want to see an increase in volume. We are seeing volume drop off here. Bulls want to see ideally more than 43,000 shares traded and a clear break over the high of Friday. PLX 20 period 5-minute support is 115. And PLX on the daily time frame extremely strong. We had an upper wick of profit taking on Friday, and the bulls are currently negating that. We're getting a very tight pattern on the 5-minute time frame as we consolidate after the initial bull move, but the daily time frame certainly favoring the bulls. Weekly time frame has been a very strong bounce underway. Need to be cautious that we've seen hundreds of percent in the past couple months. Next resistance I'm looking at on the weekly is 125. As long as we close above the upper Bollinger Band, bulls remain in control. MSFT. Bulls very strong. The high of last week, 64.44, has broken, and we're looking up at the all-time high, 65.91. Bank still strong up at the high of the day, so looking at GS and MS still holding up on that healthy 5-minute consolidation. AMD earnings. Someone mentioned it was Wednesday. Let's see. Although it looks like it might be. Looks like they already had earnings January 31st. So AMD earnings already out of the way, I believe. X still healthy. Bear volume, nothing notable on that consolidation. Bulls trying to hold 39.41, the low of that consolidation. PCLN Bulls still battling for that daily upper Bollinger Band. Not giving in so easily just yet. GoPro Bulls still holding control, trying to confirm the bullish reversal candlestick from Friday. Facebook still weak. It's in the red. PCLN and Facebook, the only two major names besides NVDA, currently red on my screen. Nice VRX continuation. High of the day for XLF in the financials. SPY back to the high of the day as well. That correlation still strong. Very nice follow through for Baidu. It's at the high of the day. XOM back at the high of the day, 82.96, key XOM resistance to break the lower high pattern on the daily time frame. CMG was a bearish candlestick on Friday, not seeing follow through today to the downside. Currently an inside candlestick compared to Friday's range. We're at the high of the day and resistance is 420.76. It's another battle for the 50-week moving average resistance on CMG. After 3 weeks of rejection in a row, that level is 417.25. So it's descending enough to give the bulls another shot here. Going to be an interesting week compared to that 50-week moving average. Vail seeing a very strong start to the day. Support is going to be the low of this period of consolidation we just had, 1121. Breaking out on the daily, close above 1118 turns that upper Bollinger Band into support. And the weekly time frame, upper Bollinger Band resistance is 1149. Price action resistance is going to be up at 1143 and 1144. There's a little double top on the weekly there from September 2014. QCOM oversold bounce, trying to confirm the reversal candlestick from Friday. And looking at 54.76 and 55.49 as the next two resistance levels. So SPY with a new high of the day, financial sector with a new high of the day. Tesla up at the high of the day, so those upper wicks not playing out as these bulls continue to hold exponential support. The 5-minute RSI on Tesla is 90, and it's been above 80 for pretty much the entire morning. High of the day for Google, heading up towards that gap fill. And still lots of strength. FEYE, so that gap up open was a gap up for selling as we lost that 20-period 5-minute moving average right away. We have now filled the gap back to the downside of 1147. And we may be looking for the bulls to form a higher low on this oversold bounce playing out. If buying WEED at this point after 25% in 6 days, I would be looking to lock any profit in pretty quickly. I do believe once profit taking does occur, which pretty much is setting up to be a potential sell the news on earnings play. Again, I would be very surprised if the bulls continued pushing higher after earnings came out, with such a run-up leading into earnings. But we're still holding that daily upper Bollinger Band now, and this makes 7 days in a row, currently 1261. Dollar is strong. It's only a penny or two above that resistance, and gold is still holding its support. 1221.46. Biotech's definitely strong. REGN, nice higher low and higher high. It is certainly seeing the benefit. And a close above 366.65, a victory for the bulls today, that 50-day moving average. Checking in on AGN on the daily time frame. Bulls are still strong there. We've got resistance at 249.64. A little bit of a double top at this point for AGN. See if the Bulls can break 249.64 and continue higher highs. Highest price we have seen on this move, and we just rejected by 4 cents. Keep an eye on that double top on AGN, although the Bulls are still strong. So there's NVDA to that daily middle Bollinger Band. As soon as the mid 112s broke, daily middle Bollinger Band 110.70. Currently just bounced 16 cents above that support. Oil is still seeing some weakness, trying to hold $53 support. Natural gas trying to get back above $3 psychological resistance, previous support. SPY is a 3 gap up pattern on the daily time frame, so we do need to be keeping an eye out. Doesn't mean it has to pull back today. If we see a bearish reversal candlestick tomorrow, that confirms the bearish 3 gap up pattern, and it could be an indication of bulls exhausting themselves to the upside. Definitely a pattern to be watching on SPY. Well, the bulls are still at the high of the day and still strong. Checking XLF to see if we have that same 3 gap up. And we don't. We only have 2 gap ups on XLF. Next resistance on the dollar, looking at 101.73. Like that 101.30 would be the next level. Then up to 101.73. But that 101.30 level is more clear. Previous support from back at the start of January. Gold did just break support on the hourly to set a lower low. We are oversold on the hourly. The dollar is yet to be overbought on the hourly. P, very bullish start to the day. Slowing down, still holding exponential support. High of Friday, 1324, has not been broken. That is still resistance. And a loss of these exponential supports, and we'll look for normal, healthy consolidation after such a strong start. PCLN, 1644 resistance on a little bear flag bounce attempt on the 5-minute time frame. Looks like Google has filled the gap to the upside. Although, let's double check that level. Not yet. 841.90. Closer and closer. So MS and GS have support to be watching, 45.14. And for GS, it's 246.24, the low of that consolidation. If we can't get a new high of the day and we break that consolidation, we see a lower high and a lower low on the 5-minute time frame. Amazon bulls still holding strong. They're just below the high of the day. X 20 period 5-minute support is 39.13. So PCLN down at the low of the day. Hourly support is down at 16.27. But I do believe the bulls are going to battle to try and hold this 16.42 upper Bollinger Band on the daily. Close below it, and we should see some further consolidation into tomorrow. Here comes Facebook down towards the low of the day. Unable to break the high of Friday. 133.68 is the low of Friday support. Gold is trying to form a bullish reversal candlestick on the hourly from oversold RSI. We still have 45 minutes until the candlestick closes. FEYE has to break 1164 to break the lower high pattern on the 5-minute time frame. Gap up open and bulls filling that gap, or bulls unable to hold up, and the bears filling that gap right back to the downside. Now we'll see if the bulls can show back up after filling that gap. I do not much action. The bulls are trying to hold on to this 20-period 5-minute moving average of 184.51. If we lose that 20 period, we're looking at 184.15. And then the next level of support is the daily upper Bollinger Band of 183.51. A little bit of weakness creeping in after a strong start. Losing that 20 period would increase the odds that we see a bearish reversal candlestick today after a 5-day breakout. So NVDA oversold bounce on the 5-minute. Testing exponential resistances, 111.52, 111.92. Bulls defending the daily middle Bollinger Band support. And we'll keep an eye on the volume on this bounce, but as of right now, anticipating it to be short term. Amazon continuation up at the high of the day. Tesla now up almost 3.5%, heading up to 280 psychological resistance. It has held exponential support on the 5-minute the entire day. And at this point on the daily chart, it's almost like, how can the bulls continue to show this much strength after what we have seen in the past 2.5 months? Obviously, the market conditions certainly helping, but this is some big time buying going on since December. And you can compare it to the bounce that we had from February to April. And that bounce was coming after a dump, and this current bounce looks extremely similar, but it's not coming after a dump. It's coming after a pullback, but certainly not a dump. AKS, we got to watch out for that weekly chart being a bear flag, rejecting from the daily middle Bollinger Band for the third day in a row of 854. Low of Friday, 835, still holding. WEED is still sitting at the high of the day, 1299. Very little consolidation for the bulls so far. Currently looking at support of 1285 on WEED. So things are slowing down here after the morning rush at the open. Baidu is forming a bearish reversal candlestick on the daily time frame. The bulls are going to have to close up closer to 185 to negate it. So both SPY and XLF, normal healthy consolidation, no red flags for the bulls at this point. JWN dumping. 5-minute RSI is 24, getting oversold. Bear flag on the previous bounce attempt, rejecting from the upper Bollinger Band last week, and the middle Bollinger Band support is 44.08. If we close below that level, we're looking back down at 42.32. So an oversold bounce attempt trying to play out, but the upper Bollinger Band has rejected 3 attempts in the past 2 weeks. Bulls need to establish a higher low and wait for those Bollinger Bands to ascend a little bit to create some room to the upside, but increasing bear volume on the 5-minute, certainly not a good sign for the bulls. GS and MS both getting very tight on the 5-minute time frame, trading straight across sideways. Still at the high of the day for Amazon. Bit more consolidation going on now for VRX. Bulls want to hold 1511 100 period 5-minute support that held at the low of the day to start today. CMG is still holding up near the high of the day. Not really seeing much progress further, but it is healthy consolidation on the 5-minute. So looking at 417.85 as consolidation support. And we're still looking at the high of yesterday, Friday, 420.76 as resistance. Bulls still strong on the 5-minute. SPY, the first target would be, we really need to lose the upper Bollinger Band support to see any kind of pullback in reaction to the 3 gap up bearish reversal pattern that currently formed. The first target would be the first gap fill at 231.77. But obviously not trying to go bearish with the 5-minute still so strong. Higher lows in place on the 5-minute time frame. Hourly time frame extremely strong. So worth keeping an eye out for the higher low pattern on the 5-minute to break. Currently looking at support of 232.16. That would be the absolute must break support before I would even consider anything bearish. JNUG still seeing upper wicks trying to bounce, but still seeing weakness. The 5-minute time frame getting very tight. Resistance is 1158 and 1169, with support down at 1139 and 1140. Gold is still trying to form this bullish reversal candlestick. Still seeing some weakness. Over a half hour to go on this hourly candlestick, as the dollar bulls are still currently above 101.02. Keep an eye out on that lower high pattern on the 5-minute. Breaking that level could see a nice little short-term bounce on JNUG, but the bull still struggling to break that pattern. MS support I'm looking at is 45.14. We're on the verge of testing that. If we break 45.14, the 20-period 5-minute is 45.06. TWLO high of the day test of 33.15. Base of support being built at 32.60, a little double low of consolidation. Inside candlestick Friday, currently an inside candlestick today. Upper Bollinger Band is 32.21 on the daily resistance. And the high of yesterday, 33.39. So potential to break out above the upper Bollinger Band today, but the bulls are going to need to see more volume. We've had pretty much 10 million shares traded the past 3 days, and we're currently only at about 13% of that total volume in the first hour. So the bull volume is going to be low. If we cannot get a new high of the day, we will likely see an inside candlestick today for a second one in a row. So there is the new high of the day on TWLO. So watching that high of yesterday, Google right about to fill that gap to the upside, 841.90. And TWLO, 33.39 is that resistance. PCLN Bulls still defending that daily upper Bollinger Band. They're trying to break the lower high pattern on the 5-minute. 1643.85 was that level. So close to breaking the lower high pattern. Keeping an eye on volume, the 5-minute RSI did get down to 27. New high of the day on the dollar, new low of the day on gold. Oil key support is 52.88. The low we've seen is 52.90. WEED doesn't really have many resistances here at all. After 1247 was 1325, so that will be the next level. TWLO after 33.39 is 34.24. Amazon, really nice follow through. 840 psychological resistance from here. Definitely one of the slow and steady bulls so far all day. Holding that 20 period 5-minute the entire day. In the last 15 minutes, seeing a big push to the upside. Need to be cautious of the bearish reversal candlestick on Baidu, leading to short-term consolidation. Our AD is seeing weakness now from that strong open. Does look like we are going to consolidate from here. Bulls will try and form a higher low on the daily time frame. FEYE, same thing. Big gap up open and now profit taking. Bulls have to form a higher low on this oversold bounce. UAA did the same thing on Friday with a gap up open and then profit taking. So all these oversold bounces, gap up and profit taking Friday or today. GoPro Bulls still holding strong. AAL next resistance, looking up at 48.05. Little bounce attempt from mid-January topped out at 48.05, and there's a resistance there at 48.10 as well. Here's NVDA back to test this daily middle Bollinger Band. Bear flag on the 5-minute time frame on that failed bounce attempt. All hourly moving averages resistance, 29 RSI on the hourly, 25 RSI on the 5-minute. And looking down at 109.86 as the next price action support. And remember, NVDA and that weekly EMA support has held for an extremely long time. Last week was a bearish reversal candlestick on the weekly, and we are currently confirming it to start the week. A long way to go. But that exponential support is 107.86, so we are still a good bit above that support. But that's what I'll be watching for a break of a very strong uptrend over the past year. The SPY Bull still up at the high of the day. XLF just below its high. Some individual weak names would be Facebook and Baidu. And PCLN 5-minute oversold bounce playing out. Defending that daily upper Bollinger Band support. And 20-period 5-minute resistance is 1646.50. FEYE battling to hold the 100-period 5-minute support of 1143, seeing a very tight range between the exponential 5-minute resistance driving the price down for the past hour and that support. We're going to see a break sometime in the next 10 minutes. Biotech sector back to seeing a bit of weakness. That upper Bollinger Band daily resistance, we pulled back from it Friday. We pulled back just below it today. Still maintaining higher lows and higher highs on the daily, but certainly not a ton of strength today as we are currently closer to the low of the day than we are to the high. SPY 20-period 5-minute support is 232.28. Pretty tight range so far today, just 44 cents. So if SPY does not see a new high of the day, and if we break 232.30, we will see a double top and a break of the higher low 5-minute pattern. So 20 cents range to be watching right now on SPY. Keep an eye on XLF as well. We're still right at the high of the day for XLF. As long as the bulls hold strong there, certainly helps prop up the S&P 500. So one last check-in, the dollar bull still in control. Gold bull still trying to form a reversal candlestick from oversold with 19 minutes to go in the candlestick. They need to see a close 1221 plus to see a bullish reversal hammer. Every single market, IWM, QQQ, and SPX hitting a new all-time high today. This now makes 5 days in a row for QQQ with an all-time high. It too has gapped up open 3 times. IWM has gapped up opened 3 times as well. Actually, maybe just 2. Technically 3 times. Definitely keeping an eye out for some short-term healthy consolidation on these daily charts, but again, shorter-term time frames, 5-minute charts, not seeing any signal at this point. IWM is the closest out of the 3 to forming a bearish reversal spinning top or doji on the daily. I'm going to wrap up the morning webcam. I'll be back in 10 minutes to continue coverage in the chat room. SPY bulls are still in control. We're watching 232.30 support and a double top at the high of the day. NVDA bulls are trying to mount an oversold bounce. We've got Facebook down at the low of the day. Baidu is forming a little bearish reversal candlestick on the daily after a breakout. And we're watching to see if PCLN can hold the upper Bollinger Band on the daily. Amazon bulls still at the high of the day. And keeping an eye on XLF at the high of the day as well. Tran currently has a double top at 9502 and 95. I have a couple weeks ago, currently being tested. And it's actually a triple top up at these levels. The bulls want to see a strong close over 9,500. We break those resistances on Tran. Back in a moment. Thanks for tuning in.